All right. But
We normally say OGs, and yes, they have the best flight you've ever seen of the setup on the beer.
Oh, okay, cool. Rock on. So OGs, I guess, is the pronunciation. Anyway, I would say I was pleasantly surprised with the turnout. It was a pretty large turnout. There was definitely a lot of people there that were very opposed to Christy Smith's charter bill. And I've had a lot of doubts, and I have a very cynical approach to Democrats' approach to education. Even though they've thrown triple the amount of money towards education, our test scores have not gone up. And in this state...
It's only because of the current secretary of education.
Predating Betsy DeVos.
I cannot believe...
I'm trying to give Democrats credit here. Will you not interrupt me so I can give them some credit here?
Please, I back off.
I have a way cynical approach to Democrats' approach to education in this state, because there's three things that get people elected here. It's the police union, the firefighters union, the teachers union. And unfortunately, the teachers union doesn't like anything that affects its power, and charter schools affect its power. Therefore, they find all kinds of mental gymnastics necessary to hate charter schools, and they're trying to outlaw them left and right. So, however, I do give credit where credit is due. Christy Smith showed up, had an open hall town forum, all right, and not only was she very good at answering all of the questions, the general questions, which were mostly just like friends asking how great she is. You know, what did she do to be so awesome? I recognized a lot of faces from California 25 and up and a lot of the Democrat parties there. But she made a concerted effort to address concerns of the many people that attended for the charter organization. And that was demonstrative of a politician that actually did care. And even though her staff multiple times said, hey, we have to go, hey, we're late, she made sure that she was at least able to address every single person that had come seemingly one-on-one. And to me, that demonstrated an operation, at least with your own constituents, in good faith, and I was impressed.
Well, it's very important. Christy Smith has already shown she's not only experienced, she's well-educated, she can make this happen, and she's doing a good job. She's occasionally going to come up with legislation that even I, as a Democrat, do not find completely tasteful. I, like you, had family members who, including my own son and daughter, who went through a charter school and felt like it gave them the advantage they needed to be able to compete, not only in high school but in college and become honor students. Without that charter school, that would not have happened. They started in the public school forum, they ended in the public school forum, but in between, they needed the additional support that a charter school provided.
Yeah. So maybe we'll get her on the program. I'm actually going to invite her on the program soon. I would love to see what's up with all this absentee or present voting we got going on, and get into the nitty-gritty about some of these other bills. But we can table that and save that for another day, because we got to dive in to our guest here, who just makes me laugh. On the program, we love crazy people, controversial people, and cool people. You know,
people that understand what the First Amendment is all about, and they recognize that you need to get out there and sometimes put a mic in somebody's face.
All right, so his name is Brandon Recor, and he owns, I shouldn't say owns, curates, or is the host of That's the Point on YouTube. He's appeared on programs as prestigious as Problem Solver Politics. And is it true you were on InfoWars?
Yeah. I was on
rock on!
InfoWars and the War Room.
All right, sweet. So he is just dive right in, Brandon. Give us the really fast bio, who you are, the projects you're working on, and what you're dealing with right now, Brandon.
Well, I was a street kid. Came from a bad background, not a bad background, but I came up from the street background and changed my ways. Opened my eyes and focused on the Lord, and he's brought me to where I'm at today. And one day I just got tired of watching people getting picked on with MAGA hats and getting bullied for what they believe in. And there was a big fear going around, like, you shouldn't walk around with a MAGA hat on in downtown Los Angeles, things like that. So I took it upon myself to put one on and go down there and interview people and see how they felt about it. So my first ever just going out and buying a mic, in the first video that I made, actually the microphone didn't even work.
Okay.
Like, I thought it was connected to the phone recording, and the phone I was recording with didn't have an external mic. So all the audio is super low, and I had to do it in post.
Okay.
But So I just went out there, and it was a women's socialism conference in downtown Los Angeles. And needless to say, as soon as I walked up, they shut the door on me, and they weren't letting me in. I was just trying to come in and learn. It was broadcasted as public.
Okay.
And the door was wide open. And as soon as I walked up, I had a Trump jersey on with my MAGA hat on, and with the mic in my hand. As soon as I walked up, they shut the door. They wouldn't even answer me at the door. Like, I'm asking them why. It's all in the video there. And supposedly a well-known Antifa guy, they call him Candleface or something like that.
Okay.
He's in the video, and supposedly he was well-known. I didn't know because that was my first time going out, never dealing with any type of people like that. But basically, I just go out there and I try to give people a platform and try to understand why they think the way they think, and give the people a voice, because the mainstream media likes to not show that. It doesn't like to give the people a voice. So I go out there. It doesn't matter if I agree with you or not. I want to hear why you think like that, and then at the same time combat that and have a civil discourse and try to share ideas and try to open their eyes just like they try to open our eyes. So, I go out with my way of thinking, and I just go out there with truth, facts, and as much as possible, and try to get honest conversations with honest people.
Okay, so in this program, we absolutely love people that actually are in the street doing things. We try and go into the street and go to the rallies ourselves, so we're not just developing opinions based upon the filter that previous media has already given us and told us how to think. And when I first saw you at the Andrew Yang rally down in Pershing Square, we started following you on Facebook because we have a couple of mutual friends here. And I noticed a very specific – now, obviously, you are more than just one fight, but I do give credit where credit is due. You actually went in to try and interview Antifa in Huntington Beach, and actually just get some sound bites and see what they wanted to say, which I find intriguing. I have to say, if I were a reporter and there was a big, hooded mass of people that say they're anti-fascist, I would love to go stick a mic in their face and say, hey, okay, so what's fascist about the situation you're in right now? And have them speak for themselves. But they were not having it. One of them hit you with one of their flagpoles. I saw the welt. That was huge. And you had to fight your way out of there. And I got to tell you, we are going to pull up this video so people can at least be seeing the visual. If you're following us on Facebook Live, you're going to be able to see the visual, or at least we'll post some kind of link to it in the description of the video. But he ends up having to fight his way fisticuffs out of an Antifa crowd. And the best part is you never dropped your mic. He had his interview mic in his right hand, and there were at least 3 jabs and 2 haymakers I saw you land on Antifa people to get out of there, and you never dropped your microphone. Was that just because, fight or flight was having you clenching it, or was it just a really nice mic? Which one?
I fight for fun with weapons, and I do full contact steel armored fighting combat.
What?
Yeah, it's full contact 14th, 15th century armor with weapons. And it's
like LARPing on steroids, huh?
No, it's not. Well, it's like MMA with armor and weapons.
Whoa!
And you do 5-on-5, 30-on-30. We did the first time 150 versus 150.
So it's like Civil War reenactment, but we're talking like medieval times reenactment instead.
But it's not
right?
reenactment. It's a real competition battle, like 5 versus 5, and we compete for tournaments and gold, cash prizes.
So is it like a HEMA or something else?
No, this is it's called battle. It's called HMB, Historical Medieval Battle. You could look that up, or you could look up Battle of the Nations. I just came back from Serbia. Actually, the day that I got into the fight with the Antifa, I flew out the next morning. That was a Saturday. I flew out on Sunday to Serbia to go fight in the World Championship.
These poor Antifa people. They got in a fight with a guy that fights in chainmail.
Okay, but wait a second. You got to describe this picture. First off, these guys had on masked gear. Many of them were wearing a protective, almost pseudo-protective armor. Yeah. He politely asked them if they wanted to give him commentary, and then they immediately come at him and start pushing towards him. Yeah. This is not like he goes in there swinging. That's not what happened. Clearly, I could see that he was trying to make a point and to get him to talk. Not only did they not want to talk, they started attacking him. Yeah. Now, this is not what we want to see in democracy.
True. Hey, but that's your team, bro.
Hey,
Antifa is on the Democrat side.
Not my team. Trust me, it's like saying the KKK is on your team. And believe me, they've changed sides several times. So the question is, we truly don't want to have these guys as saying they represent democracy. They do not.
No,
Okay.
definitely not.
So, I got a question for you. You obviously have cojones of steel here, and
Absolutely.
yeah, that was pretty intense. What have you learned in all of this going out and trying to talk to the most extreme elements of the opposition? Because I mean, I got to tell you, I think it takes guts. One of the biggest problems I have in a lot of my political conversations is how everybody wants to call the right violent and militaristic. Yet I always say the ultimate test of who is the more violent party, because everybody hears disinformation on both sides about how horrible the opposition party is. That's just been part of politics since politics were born. But I said the ultimate test is I dare you to put on a Trump 2020 shirt and walk down the street in West Hollywood and see who throws a brick at your head first. Or choose the most conservative town in the nation and wear I voted for Hillary Clinton shirt. You might get some jeers. You might get some bad comments, but nobody's going to throw a brick in your head.
No, they would have already run you over with a truck or shot you.
Okay, well, see, I think the living proof here, by the way, we invite any Democrat who has had a different experience and is a man in the street who goes out and does independent video journalism like Brandon here does to send us an email. We'd love to get you on the show and talk about your experience as well. But right now, Brandon's here, and he's confirming a lot of what I've noticed in the street. I've noticed, and the reason why I think you have so much guts is wearing a Trump hat can get a brick thrown at your head here in Los Angeles. Let's just be honest about it, okay? You can get a brick thrown at your head, and it wasn't that way in my entire formative years or growing up. What have you learned from this process? Has it confirmed biases you already have? Has it opened your eyes into new ways of thinking? Like, do you feel you've actually learned anything in your now, what, you've been doing this for a year? Or how long have you been doing this?
For like a month and a half.
Okay, so you're new to the game. In this month and a half, have you learned anything from this process?
Absolutely. First and foremost, I learned more so about myself than anything else. I learned that I am able to adapt to situations and think under pressure and keep my cool at the same time. But as opposed to externally learning something from outside, I would say that I found it true that people like to pick on the weak. So when I go out there with my MAGA hat, I don't get as much slack, if you will, from people as you would expect. You know what I mean? But I'm also tatted up, and appearance is a lot.
Dude, yeah, you look like you straight up came out of prison, dog, and you won every prison fight while you were in there.
Well, appearance is everything, first and foremost. So, I mean, to be in this type of business, to deal with people, you have to learn people, and you have to learn yourself, and you have to know what I call is controlling your atmosphere. And what I mean by that is I know when I talk to somebody, within the first couple minutes of talking to them, I know that a certain word could trigger them a certain way that can get them to act like this, that'll trigger them to get him to calm him down because he knows that he's going to get nervous, and at the same time I'm distracting him from the whole point of me being there.
Okay.
You get what I mean? So it's like it's learning people and learning how to manipulate it, but do you use it for good or do you use it for bad? And what I learned is that I know that I go out there with a solid heart, and I believe in God, and I'm a strong believer in Christ. And so I know that he's building a platform because time is coming where the children of God need to wake up, where they're being called now into their gifts, and they're being called into what they're supposed to be for and designed for in this earth. And it's the generation, our younger generation, that we have to stand up now and fight against that evil that's being pushed, that we don't like. It's just like a mist over our eyes that we don't even see it, and they're just manipulating it on both ends. That's both ends. So that's why I could be a strong Trump supporter today, but if he goes against one of my morals or values and he starts pushing it against the other way, I'm against him 100%. There's no I stand for what I stand for, and that's it. I don't care what anybody else stands for. I stand for what I believe in.
Okay, so you bring me to a really interesting question because you're relatively new to this, but you've made a very large footprint already that's gotten you a lot of attention of a lot of big people. I mean, getting on InfoWars, I think Cody, what is he? Isn't he like the biggest program in the world that's not...
For being the most banned program on the world? I mean, like the amount of people that anywhere that will host him, he's number one. He's one of the bigger shows.
Yeah, so regardless of whether or not you think that cell phone towers were designed for mind control, you know what I'm saying? And whether or not you're a conspiracy theorist, nobody can besmirch the reach of the InfoWars program, and to get on there, you have to have done something pretty significant. So this is what I'm going to want to know. We're gonna have to take a short commercial break here, but it'll give you a second to formulate your answer. Here in Santa Clarita, there's two camps. Obviously, you're a very Christian guy, and you hold your religious views very dear, and that's great. I love that. But that yields two types of people. Either you get these vehement never-Trumpers that we have in the Christian community, or else we got these people that are vehement pro-Trumpers. And when we come back from our commercial break, we want to pick your brain a little bit as to why you are so pro-Trump, and then I'm sure Mark Murphy's going to have his opinions on that. This is Problem Solver Politics.
Healthcare can be difficult if you're underinsured or have Medi-Cal. Samuel Dixon Family Health Center can help. Services are available on a sliding fee schedule. The mission of the Samuel Dixon Family Health Center is to give the Santa Clarita Valley access to affordable, quality primary care. There are 3 locations to serve you: Canyon Country, Newhall, and Valverde. Go to sdfhc.org for more information and to find the location most convenient for you.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money and your assets with gold and silver. And learn how to set up a new IRA or roll over your current one into a gold-backed IRA. Protect your money from the next market crash with gold and silver. Call now for your free gold guide.
800-296-1334. 800-296-1334. 800-296-1334. That's 800-296-1334.
Once heart attack symptoms begin, delaying treatment increases the risk of heart damage, disability, and even death. Time is critical. Leading the Valley with the most advanced digital technology and treatment times that beat national best practice goals, Providence offers emergency coronary angioplasty and stenting performed by highly trained board-certified cardiologists. For more information, call 1-888-HEALING. The road to healing leads to Providence.
This is a Problem Solver Politics production and does not necessarily represent the views of KHTS Radio or its ownership.
Your hometown station.
I love my Dodgers on KHTS.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
All right, welcome back to the program. This is Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardon Ellis, with Mark Murphy, and we are live in the KHTS studio with Brandon Recor, who was just talking to us about his interesting new YouTube channel. He's made a big splash in the online political analysis scene, especially with some man-on-the-street videos that he's done, and an infamous fight that he got into with a bunch of Antifa activists down at Huntington Beach. So before we go and we answer the question...
But please clarify. These guys were not positive, nice guys. They had armor on, face masks. They were not friendly.
Yeah, I don't think anybody ends.
Yeah, no. This is if anybody out there doesn't know what Antifa is, believe me, these are not what you want to see.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't think anybody associates Antifa with nice guys. But okay, so before I ask you your question about your full-throated and wholehearted association and affiliation with Donald Trump right now.
You notice right now, as he said, unless he crosses the moral line,
well, yeah.
It's only a question of time.
So actually, you know what? We'll dump straight into this right now, and then we'll save the pictures of you in chainmail and medieval armor for later, because that is just plain old rad. During the break, he showed us the pictures of this. You know, he's draped in a flag like a crusader with full-blown helmets and double two-handed axe on. I mean, this is like manned card stamping twice.
This is legitimate historical medieval battle, and the whole idea of using armor from that period and then representing the United States against other countries in wonderful, special form of martial arts and combat, I love it.
Yeah, you guys got to look this up. It's called HMB.
A historical medieval battle. You could look up what we did is called Battle of the Nations. You could look up Battle of the Nations 2019. It was in Serbia, and we also fought last year in Italy.
Okay, I really wish I would have known this before you came on the program. I would have had you come in chainmail. No, just have him come in his armor and just sit down. How cool would that be to have Sir Recor?
I was thinking about going out doing a video in my armor.
Dude, you totally have to. Me and Cody will escort you and be your cameraman.
Would have run, not swung.
Yeah, hey, that's good.
Yeah,
that's a good one. That's like a documentary
It would have been a better political discourse.
They would have run.
What's so bad about it is that I was just there trying. Okay, so it was a public sidewalk. The police officer even came. He saw the whole thing happen. If you watch the full unedited video, and you'll see the whole interaction of me walking up to them. As soon as I walk up, one of the guys reaches his arm out. I honestly thought he was trying to give me a hug. So I went in for a hug. And I was like, oh, hugs, free hug, no hugs, free hugs, what's up? And they were like, nah. I was like, all right, whatever. So I just walk around and go into the crowd, and I'm trying to walk down the sidewalk, a public sidewalk on the side of the beach, of Huntington Beach.
Yeah,
and
we've all been there.
And then they just started forming this little link arm chain, like Red Rover come over type of link.
Okay.
And I was the rover.
And he was the rover, and he had to fight his way out, and he never dropped his mic flag. He landed like 5 punches and never dropped a mic flag. I saw you punched a girl. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Hey,
no, I'm just kidding.
You got a mask on. You got a mask on covering your face, and you hit me with a stick. I'm laying you out, and that's it. I don't care what you are.
All right, so
you shouldn't assume their gender, sir. That was pretty bigoted of you.
That's true. That's funny.
I could not tell looking on the video. I'm really kind of embarrassed, Cardon.
Yeah, I just guessed because of the long hair. Once again, these assumptions, they're so horrible. So, okay, so you said something really interesting. You said, okay, I grew up in the streets. I came to Christ. God's a big part of my life. I feel like I'm doing God's work by defending those that I know I'm hyper truncating this, but basically by defending those that want to wear MAGA hats and believe that Donald Trump and conservatism 2018, 2019 is what's better for America. And so what's interesting is like, for example, I go to church every Sunday as well. And you always see 2 types of Christians, those that hate Donald Trump and they're never Trumpers, and they kind of follow the Mitt Romney style of thinking, right? And then there's guys like you. They're like, I love him, and I'm wearing his jersey, and I'm going to radical feminist meetings to videotape people and ask them questions about it. And I don't care if somebody throws a brick at my head because I got the protection of God, right? I mean, those are 2 wildly different ends of the spectrum. And what's funny is, you look at Donald Trump, and the Christians say I could never follow him because he's immoral, because he slept with Stormy Daniels, or he slept with the Playboy model, or whatever. And then there's guys like you.
Or the 20 criminal investigations being launched to get him for
that's just what we do now. We just investigate presidential candidates.
All the other things he does.
That's all we do now.
Funny how they didn't investigate that deep into Obama's birth certificate and all that, right?
Yeah.
No, we got that one cleared. He was born in Hawaii.
Did we, though?
Weren't you born in Hawaii? I was born in Hawaii.
Well,
we were all born in Hawaii.
Ultimately, we did dig up a birth certificate. But I do think it was interesting to me.
Birthcertificates.com.
Well, we all knew. Yeah. We all knew it was coming.
But it had to be Trump. Trump has actually.
Well, this is one of the most interesting commentaries I had. That was by one of the only people that predicted Donald Trump would win back in 2016, and one of the reasons. No, it was actually a commentator. I can't remember his name, but I was watching Fox News, and I remember the guy said, "Does anybody notice that it wasn't until Donald Trump started beating his Twitter drum that Obama actually was forced to come out and show his birth certificate? The public pressure introduced by Donald Trump was actually the tipping point that made it so Obama felt pressured into actually giving the public his birth certificate. So I'm not saying that I believe the birther conspiracy, because we all know that it was started by Hillary Clinton as a disinformation campaign in the primaries the first time around.
This is so sad. Oh.
No. Birtherism was birthed by Hillary Clinton when they were running against each other in the primaries.
Present that email. The bottom line, and Donald Trump ran on this as a major point. He obviously was, like he talked about the 2 million people who were protesting when 9/11 collapsed. I mean, we've heard a lie after lie after lie come from the front office.
Okay, well, I want to know from Brandon here.
Yeah.
I want to know.
So who knows if
despite all of his major moral flaws, like what the Christian community would generally consider major moral flaws, how is it that you follow him so wholeheartedly?
Well,
what is it?
First and foremost, to say I follow him wholeheartedly would be as to I would to worship him of some sort like that. I agree with what he's been doing because everything in the facts prove and show that everything he's been doing and his policies that he's been enacting has been benefiting our country, such as the lowest unemployment rate in history for blacks, Hispanics, and all across the board for our country.
Okay.
So I'm all about that. I'm all for that. I don't think that he's part of the narrative like every other presidential candidate or president was. I think he was a kink in their plan that they weren't expecting.
Okay.
And and like I said, if he was to change tomorrow and was to say he's putting a ban on he's attacking the Second Amendment, or if he's attacking the First Amendment, or if he's allowing things to be done like that, then I'm not going to back him. Listen, I only serve God. I follow God. That's it. I don't follow man, but I have to put trust and pray for our leaders. You know what I mean? So far, everything that I've seen him do up until this point, especially like giving the most than any other president in history to the black community, he's done that. So I mean, that's another point why I think people need to vote for him. And what he's done is he's actually helping. Everything that the mainstream media is saying that he's destroying is actually what he's really helping, but they don't want to point it out. They don't want to show the true facts. The border wall going up, it does stop the illegal immigration in those parts. It's been proven statistically to show it, but they don't want to put that out there. They don't want to show what they're saying is not a crisis down there and how it really is, and where all these measles outbreaks are coming out in sanctuary cities, and it's starting to come like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's very, very. There's a lot of things that you really need to dive into to see why you stand behind somebody before you do.
So what are your top 3 things, would you say? Because obviously you had a very precipitous, following is the wrong word, but a very precipitous change of heart that led you to supporting him. What would you say if you had to summarize them into 3 words? What are the 3 things that you support the most? And also, what would he have to do that he hasn't already done morally to make him lose your support? You mentioned maybe Second Amendment or something like. So what are the 3 things, or the main things I'd say, that make you think, okay, yeah, he's my guy? And then what would he have to do to make you say he's not my guy? Because this is really interesting. I mean, some people in the Christian community can't stand the guy for moral reasons. And they loved Obama because, you got to give credit where credit is due. He's married to his first wife. He was always faithful to her. Socialist policies aside, as a role model human, they felt more comfortable with him than a guy who is, notorious for getting whatever chick he wants and
for abusing people and for his negative commentary.
Well, abuse is anything to Democrats now. I mean,
Jews,
looking at somebody wrong
theft
is
of the public
abuse.
treasury. Many of the actions that he's taken they're not policy positions. In the area of policy positions, obviously we've seen some tremendous success in terms of the economy, and that is something to very much get behind.
I like Brandon's position though, because
because Brandon doesn't worship him.
Well, and also here's the thing: this is so cool
Not
is that you're actually pro somebody. See, unfortunately, when we get people on this show, they're always anti somebody.
Yeah.
If they voted for Donald Trump, it's because they were anti-Clinton. Or if they are voting for Kamala Harris or for Cory Booker, or they're supporting one of the 25 presidential candidates there are on the Democrat side right now, it's because they hate Trump. And that's not a position, that's an anti-position, okay? So I'm really curious about what is your position? Like, what is it that really made you say, boom, that's my guy, and what would he have to do to lose your support?
So the first thing is border security. He preached about it. Every other president has preached about it. He's the first president to actually step up and do something for us.
Okay, now...
So that in itself, he fulfilled a promise that he was going to work on it and start, and they're building. And so for me, that's very strong. And he's putting America first in that sense of you need to put a Band-Aid on the cut that keeps bleeding into our country, that's draining out our resources. So we need to put a stop somewhere. We need to recoup. And yeah, people can come, but there's also a list. There's a right way to do it. So protect our borders, absolutely.
We need to mention, too, your background, because you mentioned you have a really beautiful blend of your peoples. Not only your Native American side, but you're also children of immigrants at some point.
I'm Puerto Rican, Russian, Native American and some German.
And you've traveled
like real
extensively.
Native American, not just Elizabeth
yeah,
Warren.
Well, Cherokee.
Yeah, and he's traveled overseas.
But I mean, I don't think the percentage is like I get any paychecks for it or anything like that. It's just.
But you have this background, as an immigrant, as a child of immigrant. You were born in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
but you also have traveled overseas. So it's not like you're coming at this with no viewpoint.
Yes.
You've got experience at understanding this. You have family that's put you in this position to understand it, and you appreciate what he's doing. Whether we agree or disagree with it, he did make a pledge, and he did take action on it.
Yeah, he came through with his word, and he's been a man of his word ever since. Like, everything that he's doing, his economic policies has brought us out. We're at the lowest unemployment rate ever in history. So that's another major standpoint of why I back him up. It's not like I've always leaned Republican conservative. Based on my morals and values, and I always believe that you need to, work hard for what you want. You shouldn't accept a handout. Don't look for handouts. If you are in a position to help somebody, do it because it's your free will to do so, not because somebody's making you to do anything. So with that, the only thing I could say that would turn me away from Trump is, like I said, if he turned away from his policies and it went against, like, if he was saying he was being pro-abortion and stuff like that, because I'm very against that. I'm pro-life 100%. If he was about that and saying that abortions would be 100% legal and it's up to any date, and push for that type of policy, I wouldn't be for that. That would definitely take me away. Any attack on our rights, brother. Any president that's a sitting president that is not following the Constitution to a T, that is not making sure and ensuring the protection of our Constitution for our people. If he doesn't do that, if he doesn't protect our Constitution, then I won't be behind him. I don't care who he is.
Okay, interesting. So, in reaction to the Obama law, Donald Trump did come out and say that he thought the Alabama abortion law went too far because it didn't exactly have the most well-defined exceptions for rape, incest, mother's life. Some of those exceptions that are the extreme minority, but all of us pretty much agree are necessary. My wife, for example, was told by her doctor that, she'd had a very, very bad complication with our third child that had actually resulted in a miscarriage. But previous to it, it was affecting her so much, and she was bleeding so much, and her hemoglobin was dropping to such a degree that our doctor, who is also our faith leader at the same time, basically said, if you go one more percentage down on hemoglobin, I'm going to tell you that we have to terminate this pregnancy, right? And so I think all of us agree that she ended up miscarrying before that actually happened, so it obviously was not meant to be. But all of us agree that there are some exceptions to the rule, that they are minor. And I think, honestly, if the Democrats lived up to their commitment throughout the 90s and the early 2000s of abortion being safe, legal, and rare, everybody would be on board. But now I agree with you when you're having Ralph Northam saying we're going to birth a kid and it can sit there and then we're going to have a, quote, conversation about whether or not we want to keep it or not. You know what I'm saying? That hits you at a deeper level where you feel morally, okay, that's wrong. So Donald Trump did come out and say, okay, you do need to have these exemptions, and I don't feel like the Alabama law has enough of these exemptions for these extreme minority cases. When you say like you're 100% pro-life, are you one of those guys like Marco Rubio who says no exceptions, or are you like, okay, cool, I'm fine with it if it's in these certain cases?
So for it being 1.7% of abortions that are under extreme circumstances such as rape, incest, or if the mother's going to be, her life is in jeopardy, those cases then I believe should be down to the mother, and if she wants to make the choice, if at that point, I think that that needs to be looked at from the mother's point of view, and at that point, I really wouldn't know how to answer that because I've never been in that circumstance.
Well, plus we both recognize that it's such a small minority.
But that's such a small thing for abortions that, if it was any other circumstance other than that, I don't agree because there's preventable measures.
Okay, so that's great. That's a well-formed opinion. My curiosity here is there anything already that Donald Trump doesn't do that you overlook?
I wouldn't say overlook. I'll tell you straight up, the only thing I don't like about it is how he's not fighting for the free speech of Alex Jones and the ban of InfoWars. And I don't understand why he isn't combating it, even though, so I guess he's doing something about it. He's starting to put it out there that anybody who bans some, I'm not too sure on what he's doing exactly about it right now, but that for sure.
Well,
I think he needs to.
He has made multiple tweets and multiple comments about this has gotten out of hand, and he has shed some light on a lot of the shadow bannings and the Twitter bannings. And for those of you that aren't necessarily, in the know about the avant-garde political commentary community online, there's been a lot of bannings by some high-profile platforms such as Twitter and Facebook and so on and so forth for very arbitrary reasons. Patreon, for example, demonetized, meaning took away the money-making ability of online commentators that were all conservative for something called MOB, which was manifest observable behavior, which is the most nebulous, nondescript, suggestive or subjective reasoning out there. And it was unfairly targeting conservatives. Facebook has done the exact same thing. Twitter has done the exact same thing. And you really do have to ask yourself, is this infringement upon free speech rights? Because you really don't have speech if you don't have a Twitter profile and you're a politician. Just like you really don't have speech if you're not invited to be in the debates on prime time as a presidential candidate. You know what I'm saying?
But do you think this president has really caused part of the challenge? If he limits the press room, he throws the press corps out of the room.
No, he just subjects them to rules of behavior, and I'm
okay
with rules
that's
of behavior.
Not rules of behavior.
Jim Acosta, you're referencing Jim Acosta, who basically, who basically was
He's
one
a
step
disrespectful man.
But not just that, he threw out the entire room at different times. They closed it off, and the way they treat the press corps and who they put in there and how they rank it.
But you have to look at the
There's a
number
lot
of minutes.
Concerns there.
The number of minutes, whether it's narcissism or whether it's generosity. Trump is constantly in front of a camera, letting the media interrupt him.
Okay, wait a second.
Oh, what do you mean one camera?
We're talking about he will talk to one network. It is rare that he goes beyond
How many
that.
microphones do you see in these press conferences? There's 25 of them.
He does
Sarah
interviews
Sanders is in a room with 30 people.
Network. Why don't we have him do, or maybe it's 1.5. Why don't we have him be open to the rest of the United States' major press corps or to the smaller groups? If he did that as an example, then his commentary about protecting the smaller various platforms would be phenomenal, because then he would truly be a supporter of free speech.
Well, you actually bring up a good point.
But he's not.
You bring up a good point. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole on this, but there's been many people that have suggested there's no rules in the White House about how often, when, and how many people have to come to press conferences. Mm-hmm. And right now it's the White House press corps, which is predominantly the major broadcast news media outlets. And it became that way in the 60s and 70s, back when the only way to get the word out was through broadcast television that took millions of dollars of equipment and personnel and people. But now there's actually individual vloggers, individual bloggers, individual journalists like Tim Pool online, like Brandon, like other people that have other outlets. And there's been a lot of suggestions that it would be wise to have maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday be for major broadcast outlets, and then have like Tuesday and Thursday be for smaller bloggers and vloggers. So that is actually something interesting that I've heard whisperings of people that know the White House administration speaking out of. But I want to get back to the idea of advocacy for free speech, because I've noticed it's strange that in my lifetime, we just did a study and 40% of college students actually now reject the concept of free speech, because there's been this strange new inroad that the term hate speech has made. So anyway, we're going to come back and we're going to finish up with Brandon Recor here of the show. That's the point. Talking about everything from Trump to free speech. Don't touch that dial. We'll be back in 90 seconds. This is Problem Solver Politics.
Every year, thousands of local children, teens, and adults receive treatment at the Child and Family Center for depression, anger, anxiety, abuse, thoughts of suicide, and drug and alcohol addictions. Our professional staff provides outpatient services at office locations, in the home, the community, and on many elementary, junior, and high school campuses throughout our valley. If you need help, contact Child and Family Center at 259-9439 or childfamilycenter.org. Improving lives, one family at a time.
your hometown station.
Our news team at KHTS is constantly working to keep you informed. If you want the latest and greatest information on the Santa Clarita Valley, just sign up for the KHTS newsletter. SCV News delivered directly to your email inbox every weekday by 5 p.m. and a special weekend edition on Sundays. All it takes is an email address and you're set. Go to hometownstation.com to register.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
It's Scream season at Six Flags Magic Mountain, and your hometown station has your way in to experience a superhero collection of the most world-class coasters at the thrill capital of the world. With the most coasters, you can go for a loop at Six Flags any day of the week. Keep listening to your hometown station for your chance to win a day of Six Flags thrills for free. Not a winner? You can still get super deals on tickets, season passes, and memberships when you visit sixflags.com today.
There's no need to travel to France when Le Chêne is here.
That's Juan Alonso, owner of Le Chêne Restaurant.
Enjoy Le Chêne award-winning wine list full of treasures of French and California wines.
All at a reasonable price. Le Chêne, the perfect setting for that special occasion or any occasion, business functions or weddings.
Experience the fine arts of dining at Le Chêne.
Enjoy a fabulous meal at Le Chêne on Sierra Highway, exactly 7 miles north of Soledad. Info at lechene.com.
This is a Problem Solver Politics production and does not necessarily represent the views of KHTS Radio or its ownership.
All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. We are live in the KHTS studio. I'm your host, Cardon Ellis, with Mark Murphy and our guest, Brandon Recor of That's the Point. You can check him out and follow him on YouTube. Anyway, we're just on the other side of the break talking about why this guy is such a huge Trump aficionado. You got to understand, he puts on the Trump jersey and the MAGA hat, and he goes out and he interviews people. Everything from Antifa activists, with whom he's actually gotten a couple of fights in epic fashion, to other people such as Democrats, the Andrew Yang rally, and so on and so forth.
But wait a second. He's not a guy who goes out and says, Trump does no wrong. Trump is my guy that I follow. Trump passes laws that he supports or has an agenda that he supports at times. He is not saying the man walks on water and I do not worship this man. He's made it very clear that he is a Christian, that he follows a certain path. And if that man at the top violates or does things against the First Amendment or the Second Amendment, et cetera, or a Bill of Rights, he would change his position.
I'm curious. I thought you were going to be like totally laying into this guy because he supports Trump, but you know,
it's not about who you choose to support. The issue is why, and he's got some very good reasons. As a matter of fact, he's one of the first guys on this show who has actually mentioned the First Amendment. My hat's off to you, because that is the one that I feel that's at the most risk in this country right now.
Yeah, so curious. Flesh that out for us. What do you notice with your actual experience on the streets? Because we're constantly hearing, oh, this right's under attack. Oh, that right's under attack. You know, the media would have us believe that every day is a constitutional crisis. But what we see on the ground is different than what we hear on radio or on news on television. You mentioned that the attacks on free speech is one of your biggest concerns and one of the things that make you most allegiant to Donald Trump in all of your efforts. So when you're out on the street, what evidence do you see of free speech being under attack?
So first and foremost, being an independent media, automatically from what I've seen, that people only project their outlook on the independent medias as conservative or right-wing medias. What I've noticed is that when I go out there and ask people, they automatically believe that I'm on the right. If I have a microphone and a camera, and I've gotten this plenty of times, they're like, oh, don't talk to him, don't talk to him. So pretty much is how I feel is like the
is this when you're all maggot out? Because I'd say that's a...
No. I go with my That's the Point, and I go with my Flip Cali Red or whatever.
Okay.
But, you know, if you don't know and you're looking at me, you probably think I'm an idiot because it's the state's backwards.
Yeah,
but,
okay.
You know, I made it that way for a reason.
Okay.
So...
we should go into a little more detail on that and what he's talking about in terms of what he's pointing out here.
Yeah, well, no, definitely. We're going to get to your Flip Cali Red thing, but I'm curious to hear what you're saying about free speech, what you notice in the street.
So in the streets, per se, you know, I haven't noticed anybody stopping me other than people trying to shut it down, shut me down. Like if I was out front on a public sidewalk, I was out in front of this restaurant, just getting people that were coming out, going in, and I was asking about the Jussie Smollett case that day, I believe, and you know, the security guy would come out and say, "Oh, you can't be here." I'd be like, "Yeah, I can. It's public property."
Okay.
And then they would come and get the owner, and then it would be a big scene, and the police came, and they had made me move down the street, and it was on a public sidewalk though.
Okay.
So, and I wasn't stopping or impeding people coming in and out of a restaurant or anything like that. I made sure to stay off the side.
And let's be honest, if the obnoxious Code Pink people can sit on a public sidewalk outside of a business they don't like and make noise, there's nothing wrong with the Flip Cali Red people sitting on the sidewalk making a bunch of noise. Yeah,
If that's what I wanted to do.
As long as it's public.
If
Yeah,
that's
okay.
what I had decided to do, yeah, for sure. But as far as an attack on the streets is not as much as what I've been warned about and what I've seen and experienced myself on social medias. So with that being said, like Facebook has banned me before for posting up. You know how people post up the things about how Muslims are treating Christians over in Africa and stuff like that.
Yeah, the biggest genocide we've had of
Christians
recent is Christians in the Middle East.
And nobody wants to speak about that or highlight that, but they're Easter worshipers, and that's how they want to look at them, right? But so I posted up a meme with some facts on it that actually had some legit facts, and I got banned from my other Facebook for 30 days. So
we've had problems at this radio station where Joe Messina simply posted a meme that said facts about illegal immigration. And it had facts about how many are receiving WICs and how many billions of dollars that's actually taking from our economy. And they were literally just like U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics facts. Right. And he was banned off Facebook as well. So continue. We've noticed that here in our hometown as well.
Yeah, so that, and then when I posted the fight on Instagram, and Instagram is known for, I've been on Instagram, I've watched millions of fights on Instagram.
Yeah.
People posting fights, and they've been up for months and years.
Yeah, I've seen high school fights in the parking lot of In-N-Out here on Facebook and Instagram.
So
yeah.
I posted my Antifa fight, and what's crazy is that I had an IG up, but I never posted anything on it. I just had it up to have my name.
Okay.
And the day of the fight, or when that whole thing went viral, I look at my Instagram. Next thing I know, I got 12,000 followers. I don't have one post yet. So I was like, okay, I got to start putting stuff on here. So the first thing I do is post a fight, so everybody can, just go into that and check that out.
And know it's you.
And then as soon as I posted it up, the next day, boom, banned, blocked. They took it down. Instagram took the fight down. I said, okay. I screenshotted that, posted that, reposted the fight. Bam, they took it down again. I screenshotted that and reposted the fight a third time, and then they never took it down after that time. So it's still up on my Instagram.
Thank you for your persistence.
Oh, well, I can't.
It's the only thing that's going to protect free speech is if we keep fighting back.
Well, there's no reason why. And so Instagram, Facebook, and that those are the cornerstones of our communication nowadays. And they say that, they have their own rules because it's a private company like that.
Yeah.
But if you're going to corner the market for communications, you need to go by the United States Constitution.
And you do have to. You were making the exact same arguments that, hey, Standard Oil is a private company. They can buy up the other smaller companies and shut them down in order to inflate the price of kerosene.
That sounds familiar.
But so if you're going to take Rockefeller, and you're going to say, okay, we got to invent antitrust laws to break up Standard Oil because it's flexing too much power that's infringing on people's rights. You've gotten too big. If you're going to do that to Standard Oil 100 years ago, then there has to be some kind of – I hate regulation, and I do not want to see the U.S. government regulating our speech at all. But to a certain extent, you're looking at these – yeah, you're looking at some of these platforms that have gotten so large – it begs the question, what can be done? Because right now, we were covering some Andrew Yang policy proposals about our data not even being ours, information that can be used for marketing, for surveillance. We don't have any control over that. It does make you wonder, what is the legislative solution? Have you thought of anything that you noticed you think would help you of all these ideas floating around online right now in regards to free speech and these social media platforms?
Sure.
30 seconds.
Yeah, one thing I would say is just you have to abide by the rules that they have right now. But what I would say is that if you're going to have a major company like they do right now, how they have, and it's such a cornerstone of where we are for communications, that the government is meant to protect us and protect our Constitution. So that's what they should be doing with those big corporations, and they should be held under the Constitution. And that's how that's where the federal regulating, I think, should take place. Is that if they're going to be that big, then they need to be regulated only under the Constitution, and that's how they need to play by for the United States.
In 10 seconds, where can people find you before we finish, my man?
You can find me on YouTube. That's The Point with Brandon. You can find me on Twitter. That's The Point with Brandon. Same thing with Facebook. And Instagram is That's The Point _Brandon.
And how do we look up the Flip Cali Red thing?
Yeah, you can look up. It's under any one of my social medias. The link will be there. It's the That's The Point shop with Spreadshirt, and the links are in all my videos on YouTube. You can go down and you look in the description. They're all there.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, Brandon, it has been an absolute honor and an awesome thing having you on the show. Guys, you have been blessed to be hearing Brandon Recor from That's The Point. You got to go and check him out. It's been an awesome show with you guys. This was Problem Solver Politics. I was your host, Cardon Ellis, with Mark Murphy. We're going to see you guys next week. Adios.